She was always in my way and really annoying, my husband said angrily right to the end. It made me wonder if he was even human. He was the worst, not just as a parent, but as a person. I felt sorry and determined to get revenge as I stood in front of everyone at the funeral, reading the letter our daughter left behind. When I read it, my husband's face turned pale. Then my father-in-law angrily asked what I was doing. Revenge was about to begin. My name is Elma. I'm a 40-year-old housewife. I've been married to Carl for 15 years. We met in high school, became classmates, and eventually started dating. We got closer during a school project and continued dating through college. After college, Carl got his own place, and I often visited him. We both started working, but we still made time for dates and trips. 3 years into our working lives, we decided to get married. Since we had dated since high school, meeting each other's families went smoothly. Our wedding was attended by many people, including our high school classmates. We started our married life happily. 3 years later, our daughter Rosa was born. Carl was thrilled when he held Rosa for the first time. He promised to protect our family, and I thanked him. He seemed so reliable and larger than life. After giving birth, I worked part-time at Carl's company to spend more time with Rosa. Raising her was joyful, and every milestone filled us with excitement. Carl regretted missing some moments, but enjoyed spending time with us on his days off. As Rosa grew, we enjoyed taking her to different places and watching her experience new things. We were excited about her future dreams and the journey she would take. Everything changed when Rosa was in the 3rd grade. I was working part-time when suddenly I got a call from the hospital. Rosa had collapsed during class. I rushed there in a panic, and my husband left work early to join me. The doctor gave us the shocking news. Rosa had a rare disease, and she probably only had about a year to live. We were devastated. As time passed, Rosa grew weaker. 6 months later, she couldn't walk properly and had to stop going to school. We spent most of our time in hospitals or at home. Eventually, she couldn't even get out of bed. I quit my part-time job to take care of her full-time. It was crucial that we supported her with all we had. Around this time, my husband's attitude started to change. He would easily get in a bad mood at home. Even simple things like dinner would set him off. He complained about everything and was always irritable. The atmosphere at home became tense whenever he was around, but it was peaceful when it was just Rosa and me. He started coming home late, claiming it was because of overtime. I felt relieved when he was late because his presence was mentally exhausting, but I also felt lonely. He stopped caring about Rosa and refused to spend time with her, saying it was enough to take care of her during the day. My daughter was fighting hard to live, but my husband couldn't see her efforts. Instead of praising her, he complained about having to be involved as a parent. His overtime increased, and he started staying out overnight without telling me where he was or what he was doing. I couldn't understand why he was so distant and busy all the time. I had developed a dislike for my husband, so the days without him felt more comfortable. Even when he was home, we barely spoke, and he seemed to sense the tension and didn't try to talk to me more than necessary. But my daughter seemed sad about it. "Did you and Dad fall out?" she asked. "You hardly ever talk when you're together. Most of the time, I hear voices and you're fighting." "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to worry you," I reassured her. "But it's okay. We're not on bad terms. Dad's just really busy with work, so when he's home, he's resting." "Oh, I see," she said, seeming a little relieved but still sad that her dad wasn't talking to her much. "Did Dad start to dislike me after I got sick?" "That's not true at all," I assured her. "A parent can't hate their child. Like I said, he's just busy with work. Don't worry, he doesn't hate you." After putting our daughter to bed, I sighed. Why am I causing her to worry like this? She's in a life or death situation, and I'm troubling her with this. Summoning my courage, I spoke to my husband when he came home. "Hey, Rosa is feeling lonely. She's wondering if you started to dislike her after she got sick." My husband, who had been listening reluctantly, seemed surprised that our daughter would say such a thing. "Yes, she did. So please, even if it's just a little, talk to her. She's lived past the life expectancy she was given, so it wouldn't be strange if we lost her any time. Let's make sure neither of you has any regrets, okay? I got it, he said begrudgingly and in a low voice. The next day, I deliberately created time for just my husband and daughter to be together while I went out for a couple of hours. When I returned home, I asked him if he had talked to Rosa. He said they did, and then announced he was going out to eat with a friend. Huh. Are you going somewhere? I asked. Yeah, I'm going out to eat with a friend. Why don't we all have dinner together as a family? He replied. I've been invited, so I can't say no. I've done my part by talking to Rosa. It's time for you to let me go, he said before leaving the house. I felt like nothing had been resolved. Maybe my husband was just going through the motions out of obligation. At that moment, I decided to stop expecting anything from him. It was enough if I cherished our daughter. And that's what I did. They were all smiles in front of Rosa. But once she fell asleep, their faces filled with pain and loneliness. It really is unfair of God, they said. Why couldn't it be an old-timer like me instead of a good kid like Rosa? My parents stayed until the very last minute before my husband was due back. Rosa had been happy to talk to her grandparents after so long. As time went on, Rosa's condition worsened, and she had to be hospitalized. I visited her every day, but my husband never came. Instead, when he returned home early, he would send angry messages on WhatsApp, upset about dinner not being ready. At this point, I thought it would be better if I didn't have a husband who couldn't cherish his own daughter. But without his work, I couldn't spend all this time with her. His work allowed me these moments with her. Not only my parents but also my in-laws came to visit her often at the hospital. Rosa always seemed happy when someone came to see her. We even celebrated her 12th birthday in the hospital room. But about a month after her birthday, Rosa's condition worsened, and she passed away. I was devastated and broke down crying. My parents tried to comfort me, but they ended up crying with me. Still, we had to see Rosa off properly. Together with my parents, I arranged and prepared for the funeral. We arrived early at the funeral parlor, but my husband was irritable about having to get up early. He hadn't been reachable when Rosa passed away, and he had the gall to say he was on a business trip. He tried to light a cigarette in frustration, and I sharply told him to go to the smoking area. As he walked away, he said something awful to our sleeping daughter. You were such a pain, always in my way, right to the end. I was speechless and rendered motionless by his horrible words. When I came to, I went straight to the coffin. I'm sorry. I will take revenge in your place, I told my daughter with determination. I could never forgive him. Then the funeral began. Unbelievably, my husband, who had just said such terrible things, pretended to cry in front of the relatives, saying Rosa's name as tears streamed down his face. I knew it was an act because I saw him apply eye drops before walking up to the coffin. The relatives, not knowing any better, misunderstood and started crying too. Unforgivable. I was determined to reveal his true nature, no matter what. As the funeral was drawing to a close, it was time to read the letter left by my daughter. What? There's a letter? My husband was clearly surprised, not having known about it. Yes, there is. I have to properly convey the words she left behind to everyone, I replied. I stood before the funeral attendees and began to read my daughter's letter aloud at the microphone. The letter was mostly words of gratitude to me for the care I had given her. With each word I read, tears came, and I choked up. The relatives also started to cry along. But as I got to the part about my husband, I took a deep breath. To Dad, I read. Against Mom, who was always by my side, you seemed to avoid coming home as if you were avoiding us. Even when you came home, all I could hear was your voice yelling at her in my room. Dad used to make time to play with me when I was little, taking me on drives to all sorts of places. But after I got sick and became bedridden, Dad seemed like a completely different person. Mom always pretended to be strong in front of me, but I could tell she was really struggling with how Dad was behaving. It hurt me, thinking maybe it was my fault things turned out this way, but it seems that wasn't the case. Remember the day Mom went shopping, and it was just Dad and me at home? You came to my room and talked to me. Then, maybe because Mom asked you to, I was so happy. It felt like the old Dad had come back. But then, thinking I was asleep, you took a phone call. You were talking to a woman I don't know. I heard everything. You were planning a week-long trip. Did you enjoy the Disney trip you went on behind our backs? And you told that woman on the phone that you loved her. Hearing that, I realized you don't care about Mom or me anymore. So please, after I'm gone, divorce Mom. Don't make her unhappy anymore. Let her be free from you. When I finished reading the letter, the room was buzzing. My husband stood there, pale as a ghost. What the hell are you doing? My father-in-law's angry voice boomed. The revenge had begun. My husband just stood there, speechless, stuttering, "Ah, ah." My father-in-law grabbed him by the collar and yelled, "You fool!" before striking him across the face. My husband, staggering, denied the affair, saying, "It's not what it looks like. There must be some mistake." But my father-in-law replied, "What's the mistake? Rosa would never lie." My husband stuck to his denials, holding the microphone. "I haven't had an affair," he insisted, but I wasn't buying it. "I've already caught you. Stop with the futile resistance," I told him. Yes, I had seen my daughter's letter beforehand and hired a private investigator. I had gathered plenty of evidence of my husband's affair. I showed the photo on my smartphone to everyone at the funeral. All the relatives attending glared at my husband. "How could you go on an affair trip when your own child's life was hanging by a thread? You're finished as a human being. I didn't raise you to be such a terrible adult." My parents disowned him. My husband collapsed on the spot, trying to escape the pain. "That's no excuse for having an affair. And if that were true, you would have spent more time with Rosa. Don't lie now when we've come so far," I admonished him. Then I heard from his parents that he was asking them for money for Rosa's medical expenses because it was so costly. "You exploited your daughter's illness to collect money and have an affair, didn't you?" I accused him. "Don't give me that. How dare you do such low things and then talk about suffering? Rosa was the one suffering the most, fighting desperately to survive her illness. To have a father like you, Rosa was the one to be pitied." I shouted at him with all my might. He fell on his butt, let out a small yelp, and then hurriedly ran away from the place. After that, I reset and continued with my daughter's funeral. My in-laws apologized deeply and offered to help with the divorce and alimony in any way they could. I proceeded with the divorce and demanded alimony through a lawyer introduced by my father-in-law. But that wasn't enough for me. I took the house my husband had bought and also told everyone at his workplace about what he had done. My ex-husband quickly lost all credibility at the company and was demoted and sent to work in a remote location. He asked his affair partner to come with him, but she promptly dumped him, saying she had no interest in a man without money. In the end, to his affair partner, my ex-husband was just a rich plaything. He was abandoned by his parents and relatives, left to work alone in a distant place, living a lonely life. It's all what he deserves. And honestly, I'd like to beat him up to my heart's content if I could. Meanwhile, I sold the house I got from my ex-husband and moved back to my parents' house. With the alimony from my ex-husband and his affair partner, I had a considerable amount of money. I didn't feel like working for a while after my daughter passed away, but gradually I started to think more positively and began working part-time at a cafe near my parents' house. Mom's homemade cake. Rosa loves it so much. I remember my daughter saying that. Now I bake sweets every day while working at the cafe and honing my pastry skills. I hope to one day serve my own creations on the menu. Just like how my daughter was happy eating my cake, I want to see someone else smiling while eating my cake for my daughter's sake. I have to live my life to the fullest. With that thought, I put my all into working towards my dream.